Wow, welcome everybody. Seeing the names fly through the chat there. Got some more coming through. Welcome. Hello, how's it going? If we haven't met before, my name's Tim, and this is the first Leadership Summit of 2024 at Wize. Warm welcome to you all. I'm one of the mentors, and I'm joined with me today by the full team at Wize Mentoring. We'll do a bit of a roll call before we get started so you can know who everyone is. Hey, Brenton, we're joined by our CEO and founder, Brenton Ward. Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Calling in from Ireland, I think.
Sure.
Yep. And we've got one of the other founders, Ed Chan. Hey, Ed, how's it going?
Good. G'day, Tim. G'day, everyone.
Where are you calling in from this morning, Ed?
From good old wet Sydney.
Yeah. Great to have you on the call. And we're also joined with us by the other founder of Wize, Jamie Johns. Hey, Jamie, great to have you on the call.
Hey, g'day, Tim. How you going? Hope everyone's well.
Good, thanks. Awesome. And we've got the other two mentors. We've got Thomas calling in from Sydney. Thomas.
Yep, good to be here.
Great to see you. And Christy. Hey, Christy.
Good morning, Tim. I'm so excited for today's sessions.
Me too. Awesome. And we've got our Wize support team. We've got Danny from Wize Talent. Hey, Danny.
Hi, everyone.
And Ali and Roel from Wize Hub, the Wize Hub team. Hey, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Great to have you on the call. And we've got Sammy holding it all together.
Hi, everyone. Morning.
Awesome. So if this is your first Wize Leadership Virtual Summit, extra warm welcome to you. We'd love to hear from you via the chat, especially if it's your first one. Maybe you could say where you're calling in from in the world, because we've got lots of different time zones in today's session. So really great to have you here. Just to give you a bit of a lay of the land of how these summits work, we pack quite a lot into the 2 hours, but really the core philosophy behind these is the rule of 33, which one of my mentors, Jamie Johns, taught me, which is that you should spend a third of your time with someone who's achieved what you want to achieve in life. And that's really the core of why we put Wize together, Wize Mentoring together. And then you should spend another third of your time with your peers, people who are in a similar stage of life to you and your journey. And then you should spend a third of your time giving back to people who aren't as far along in the journey as yourself. And that's where we've got learn, share, and teach there, the rule of 33. So congratulations for coming. You're already on your way to implementing this rule from joining us in today's session. A bit of housekeeping. We really love these sessions to be as interactive as possible. We've got plenty of breakout sessions organized for you today. And really just a bit of kind of best practice. It's really great to have your webcam on, especially when we're doing these breakout sessions, so we can really get it as close to sitting around a room in real life as possible. And if you're anything like me and you're easily distracted, keep your emails away, keep your phone, anything that's giving you notifications and beeping at you, keep that away so you can be fully present for these 2 hours. And really, we encourage you to be open and interact. It's your event. We really want you to get the most out of it. And there's no question that's too stupid. Ed's taught me that over the years. And yeah, really just it's your time. Make the most of it by being as present as you can be, even though we're meeting virtually. So yeah, we love to see some lively conversations taking place in the chat. And again, if it's your first time, we'd love to hear from you. We've got Jenny calling in from all the way from Wisconsin, from the Midwest over there. So maybe tell us what time it is where you're calling in from as well. I know it's pretty late in Ireland where Brenton is. It's nice and early here in Australia, Eastern Coast. It's 8 a.m. We've got 5 p.m. Awesome. Atlanta, Georgia. couple of Americans calling in. Great to have you on the call. Okay, so just before we kick in, we'll just give you a bit of an idea of the agenda today. The first 45 minutes or so will be on our keynote topic, which will be Ed and Jamie presenting around leadership. And then from 8:45 to 9:15, we're going to have our pitch fest, which is a really loved segment of these group chats. The mentors are going to have a pitch against each other to try to vie for your attendance in their own breakout room on a topic related to today's topic of leadership. And then in the last segment of time from 9:15 to 9:45, we're going to have another breakout session around the deep and narrow teams. And just to get you ready for that one, it's based around the way we segment our accounting teams. So we've got client owners, owners and client managers, production managers who are more in charge of managing the staff, and what we call grinders, from finders, minders and grinders. And that's the accountants, the bookkeepers, the preparers who predominantly are getting the financial statements and books processed. And we've got a fourth breakout room, which is for the admin staff, for anyone who's in the admin team on today's call. And that's practice managers, office managers, any administrative people. So have a think about which of those four categories you fit into now. And in the last part of today's session, you can join the relevant breakout room to get some wisdom on how to do those jobs the best you can. And that's pretty much it for the schedule. If you have any questions at all about where we're at in today's Leadership Summit, just again, use the meeting chat and someone can answer that for you straight up. So again, extra warm welcome if it's your first time here. If you've really just heard about Wize yesterday, we'd love to have you here. And if you've been around for years, it's just as great. So again, extra warm welcome. So if you don't know much about Wize, just really quickly, we exist to help accounting firms run better and to help skill up and train owners and their leaders in their firm on how to be the best bosses that they possibly can be. And one thing I've learned over the years of working with Ed and Jamie is that leadership's a really core element, maybe the core element to implementing change management and just running the best firms that we can. And there's so much fluff around leadership out there. There's a lot of misunderstandings and confusion about really how to run the practice the best way, but also around topics like leadership. And so our hope today is that what you'll get out of it is that you'll get some really concrete, practical examples that will help you be able to analyze your own performance as a leader, and that you'll come away equipped knowing better how you can improve as a leader. Because as Ed says, great leadership is leverage, but poor leadership can create really bad damage in your firms. So again, thanks very much for joining us. Really happy to have you here. And without further ado, we'll dive straight in. So Ed, I'd love to hear from you, just setting a bit of context. Why is leadership, or good leadership, essential to scaling and growing a firm or any business for that matter?
Yes, thanks, Tim. Yes, you can have. I found that if you can have the best people in your firm, and you can have the best systems in your firm, but if you don't provide, strong leadership, it can all go pear-shaped. So it's the leadership that holds the whole thing together. But you're right, Jim, when you said that this term called leadership is like people bandy it around, and it's a bit sort of wishy-washy. What does that really mean? And I guess it means different things to different people. For me, your role is not the same as leadership. Your role doesn't determine leadership. So you can be put in charge of a group of people. You can be put in charge of a company, but if you're not showing leadership, then just because you're in that position doesn't mean that you're doing anything as a leader. So for me, it's not actually one thing. It's a few things lumped together. It's about taking responsibility, because you can be in a role where you're giving instructions, or you can be in a role where you're taking instructions. And for the average person will say, well, the person who's giving instructions is the leader. But to me, both of them has to show characteristics of leadership. So, obviously when you're giving instructions, you have to show characteristics of leadership. But then when you're taking instructions, there's this level of leadership there. And that's about taking personal responsibility. So you can be put into a role of leadership, but don't take personal responsibility for that role, and then it can go pear-shaped. Or you can be part of a team and not take personal responsibility for your tasks, and your role will go, south. So for me, it's both those things, and I'll just cover both of them for those who are giving instructions and to those who are taking instructions, because for those of you who are part of Wize Mentoring, you know that we run deep and narrow teams, and it's made up of the senior client manager, or you've got we run it as a corporation, so you've got a CEO, a person who's responsible for the overall business, and then you've got a senior client manager and the senior production manager, and the accountants below them, so in this team, if the leader gets everyone working together, then you get synergy. You get 1 + 1 is 5, and that's called leveraging your resources. But you stated correctly, Tim. You can leverage good things, which is 1 good thing plus 1 good thing gives you 5 good things. But you can also leverage bad things if you have poor leadership, and that's 1 bad thing plus 1 bad thing gives you 5 bad things, and that's really bad. And you can see that happen in various organizations around the place. But the bottom line is, if you want to have happy clients, if you want to have happy staff, you want to be profitable, you want to be efficient, and you want to be able to scale your business, then you've got to learn. Everyone in your organization needs to learn about leadership, and for me, about taking personal responsibility. And the first thing that's got to be clear is about purpose. You've got to know, you've got to be very clear about your purpose, and that's about self-awareness. So being self-aware will help determine that purpose, because often you're given a role, but you don't really understand what that role is about. And there's lots of firms here, so you might have in your mind different roles. But for me, my purpose in my organization is about productivity. It's about results, and it's about outcomes. So I call that output focus as opposed to input focus. So if we're clear about what our role here is about output, productivity, results, outcomes, and not input. Input is about opinion, feelings, being right, arguing about being right over the right outcomes. Then if you're clear about what your purpose is in the organization, then it eliminates all the other issues, issues around debates and arguments and everything else. And I guess the best way to explain it, just to give you a few examples. If you don't have purpose, you'll leave a void, and when you leave a void, it gets filled with other things. People fill it with their thoughts, their ideas, their rules. So you've got to fill that void as a leader and make sure that it's very, very clear. And that purpose provides clarity, and that clarity is what is the beacon, if you like. If you create this beacon that everyone follows, so everyone's rowing this boat in the same direction instead of going in all sorts of directions. And I'll just explain being outcome focused and not input focused. Once you become outcome focused, then it provides clarity around everything, even when you recruit. So, you know, in the old days, when I was recruiting, I'd recruit based on whether I liked the person or we got along, or, you know, whether they had a nice, you know, personality, or whether they fit our culture, if you like. Of course, if that's important, but what's more important is that they can produce outcomes. They can be results orientated, because you can hire somebody because you like them, but if they're not productive and they're dragging the chain and everybody's got to carry them, then you're going to soon not like them, right? But on the flip side, if you recruited them, if you didn't recruit someone and you didn't like them, or you know you're reluctant to recruit them because you didn't think that they clicked with you, but they're hugely productive, and they're making your life easy, and they're generating a lot of productivity. Well, you know, you'll like them, I'll guarantee you. Right. So if you look at output as being your purpose, then that helps clarify what your purpose is, and that's mine. So everybody's got different purposes, and that gives us a lot of clarity. And as I said, the beacon around, you know, what we all should be doing. And then that, of course, leads to the Fab Five. You know, we talk about the Fab Five for those of you who are a part of our growth group. The Fab Five measures outcomes and productivity, and then it eliminates all the input stuff like, oh, I'm working really hard. You know, what does that mean, working really hard? Everyone's got a different definition of working really hard. But when you measure it against your Fab Five, then it's pretty clear. Then there's no more debate. So your Fab Five determines whether you're productive or you're not. But if you don't focus on your Fab Five, then everyone has an opinion about, you know, them working hard. But you know, there's that old saying, you know, the salesman can work 7 days of work and work really hard, but he or she's got to actually sell something, and that's the outcome. You know, so we've got to be outcome focused and not effort focused. I call that effort is input, personality is input, output is results. You know, getting the work done. Your timesheets have to be, you know, up there around 80 to 90%. If you're a senior client manager, your outcome is your team's profitability. So all of a sudden it gives you context, because if you're outcome focused and that's your purpose, then as a leader, as a senior client manager, your job is to help your team become productive. What does that mean? It means that if someone's not pulling their weight because they're not trained up, then your job is to get in there and train them. And then all of a sudden it focuses leadership around helping people and not about just yourself, because, you know, if your people are not productive, then it ends up in your results as a senior client manager. And if you want your results to increase, you've got to help your team to make sure that you've got the right people in the right seat, and they've been given the right training, and that provides clarity around what your role is. And of course, that's to do with if you're a person that's giving instructions, then that's pretty easy to see that, because, you know, but, you know, a lot of people are put into roles of leadership or roles where they give instructions, but, you know, that it's all about themselves. And you can see they're blaming everybody for the team not working, you know, and they're not understanding that the reason why the team's not working is because of you and your lack of leadership and helping. And they don't understand that their job is to help their team to get productive, because the Fab Five is measuring the output of the team, not necessarily, you know, individual like yourself. It's the team that makes you better and more productive and more profitable. And it does shape how you look at things by being very clear about your purpose. And of course, being clear about your purpose is about self-awareness. But the other one that's a little bit harder to understand is when you're taking instructions. You know, where does leadership come in when you're taking instructions and you're part of a team? And I touched on it earlier about personal responsibility. If you don't take personal responsibility for your productivity, in other words, you're, you know, hiding and you're, you know, not doing work, you're not being honest, you know, you're not being sincere about your role in this team, then it will go pear-shaped and you'll get found out, you know, you'll get found out over time. And taking responsibility for what your role is extremely, that's all about self-awareness and about taking personal responsibility. And of course, you know, that's a little bit, so I think Jamie often says you can't lead an organization unless you lead yourself. So it starts with leading yourself, and then you can then lead others. But that comes in both, whether you're someone that's giving instructions or someone that's taking instructions. Just thought I'd cover a few points to start our discussion.
That's super helpful. Yeah, no, that's so great. And thanks so much for that. The context around how self-awareness fits into leadership. Jamie, I'd love to hear from you on some specifics here. So we've got the 10 signs a leader lacks self-awareness. I was wondering if you could take us through these, and I've got a slide for each of the signs. But I'd love it if you could take us through and give us some examples of what this looks like and how we can potentially remedy it. So the first one is it's not me, it's you. Could you explain to us all what that means?
Yeah, it's a good segue into what you know, Ed said, but you've got to listen to your own language, because if you blame, you know, the government, if you blame the weather, if you blame, you know, oh, there's no, you know, I can't find any good staff, I can't find anyone like me, you know, I can't, you know, oh, I train, you know, it's like another words or language say, oh, I train people and then they just leave, so why do I do it in the first place? So the whole point with this one is just, yeah, personal responsibility. The only thing ultimately that you can change at the end of the day is the guy in the mirror. So, you know, it comes back to, well, it's not them, it's not the world out there, it's me. So essentially that's where it starts is with you, you know, and you know, that's where I had to start, you know, when I first met Ed, and it was about, well, what do I want to change? And it's, you know, Dr. Stephen Covey talks about this circle of concern versus circle of influence. But, you know, essentially you can only start with yourself first, Tim. So whether you're, you know, on the team, an accountant on the team, or whether you're an owner of the business, the only thing that you can really change is yourself, because, you know, ultimately, that's where you've got the control. So, you know, saying to yourself, it's not me, it's you, is just the wrong way of thinking. And all the things that I just said at the start is like, it's got to start with yourself. Yeah.
No, I love that. Jamie, it reminds me of the time when I first met Ed all those years ago. And I said, Ed, I need you to help me change my practice. And he said it in a nice way, but Ed, he said something along the lines of, no, I need to change you. So yeah, I love that, Jamie. Yeah, so much wisdom there.
That's right. I mean, when you get talking to people, you can pretty much sum up, you know, if they start blaming everyone, blaming society, blaming people, or blaming people in their firm, and I can't find the right people, I can't keep people, and so forth, then like your sort of antenna comes on. And you know, in that sense, some people that you hang out with, you feel energized. You feel energized like after you hang out with them. And then other people who I would say, you know, are blamers, it's not me, it's you. You almost feel like your energy's depleted. So, you know, there's just sort of signs like that around, you know, what your attitude is to your own professional and business growth and development. But but you can't say, you know, it's not me, it's you. That's just the wrong thinking from the word go. You know, Dr. Stephen Covey's first habit, if anyone's got the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you know, habit 1 is be proactive. That's like take responsibility and start with yourself first about who you are, what you want from your business, and what you want out of life. So, yeah.
Yeah, Tim,
Yeah.
Jamie touched on Dr. Stephen Covey. He talks about, you know, outcomes and results, and he says that if you want the biggest amount of outcome is and what you need to do, and Jamie touched on it. The reason why it's about yourself and not about somebody else is because that's where you get the biggest change. So he uses this example. So if you wanted to stop smoking, for example, well, you have more control over yourself than you have over your spouse, and then, you know, over the family, and then over the community if you're trying to stop the community from smoking, and then the company, and then the world. So you have more chance of stopping yourself from smoking than you do trying to change the world. So he says start with yourself, and then from there you get the most amount of change, and then you can then go out from there. And if everybody did that, you know, if everybody took responsibility for their own, you know, way they behave, then you can have a significant improvement. But if you're trying to change somebody else first before trying to change yourself, you're not going to get
pretty tough.
The same results.
Right.
It's like Mahatma Gandhi said, Ed, be the change you want to see in the world. It starts with you. Yeah.
So good. Not easy, but it's where you've got to start, right? It's number 1 for a reason. This is, we talked about self-awareness, Ed and Jamie. Oh, sorry, Ed, did you want to say something?
Oh no, you can sorry about that. You can see where people are not focused in the right way. As someone who's taking instructions, and they change jobs constantly. Okay, so they, instead of, you know, things go up and down in life. You know, there are times that are good times and times that are bad times. And when things aren't quite, you know, kosher, and they're difficult, and you've got challenging times, you know, a lot of people just leave, and they find, you know, they look for a better job rather than do a better job. So, you know, it's when you're focused correctly, you do a better job. You stay, you find solutions, you find, you know, you focus on the outcomes instead of just running away and get another job. So being focused, as we are, taking responsibility, makes you a better person. Because if you stayed and went through and found solution, then you become a better person. If you just run away and, you know, find the easiest thing out there, then you're not going to grow as a person. And often that shapes your behavior throughout, you know. And that's just another example I pulled out to explain input and output.
So moving on to the second one, we've talked a lot about self-awareness this morning, and it kind of plays out in a lot of these. So the second one is don't understand how their actions impact others. Jamie, could you explain why this is a really important thing for leaders to get their heads around?
Yeah, Tim, you know, over the years, including Ed, I've read 1,000 books and had a lot of mentors, so I'll bring different aspects into our discussion. But there was one great leader, Rachel Robinson, who led an Antarctic expedition to Antarctica with the Australian team. She said that every time you interact with someone or have a contact point, she called them edge moments. And you know, with those edge moments, you either you leave a positive impact on someone, or you will take away or a negative impact on someone. So it's very important that you have a level of self-awareness, that you understand the impact of every touch moment that you have on each individual, particularly whether you're a leader or whether you're not. And a big part of that is about whether you're focusing on solutions or focusing on the problem. You know, over the years, I've been in, you know, many many like emotional, heated interactions with people in growing my own firm. And so, it's almost like if you're a diplomat, if you're a diplomat and there's two countries going to war, how do you behave? Do you just focus on the problems, or do you focus on the solutions? And so when you're a person who focuses on solutions, you're more likely to have a positive impact of getting an outcome that you both want. But if you're not aware, of your contribution and how you're impacting the situation, which is how you're impacting others, then you're sort of walking blind. So self-awareness and how you're impacting on others in those touch moments is extremely important. And I would say the advice I would give to people is identify what the issue is, but then focus on the solution and break down the solution into steps. Because that was sort of something I learned from Ed, was always focus on solutions and then focus on your impact of how that affects the other person. It's that old sort of saying, first seek to understand before being understood. And that's a good action point. And to practice that, they often say good leaders, Tim, speak last. So you'll notice someone who's in a room and there's a lot of discussion going on. And again, it's living with intention and practicing that. And I'll often try and let everyone have their say, and then at the end come in and sort of, once I've heard everyone what they've said, is sort of have my point of view at the end. But be self-aware around focusing on solutions and not the problem. Because if you sort of continually blame and you did this and she did that, and there comes a point where you say, okay, well, all of us might have done the wrong thing, but let's move forward from here. What actions, what positive steps can we take to move forward from here in a win-win, in a win-win environment? I don't mean to refer to Dr. Covey all the time, but his habit for is win-win. All interactions with people, you must try and have a win-win, not a win-lose, not a lose-win. It's a win-win.
Lose-lose.
So but it's just being self-aware that every touch point, every edge moment, that you try and have a Ed would say, like a deposit into the emotional bank account. When the emotional bank account's in negative, you got to work hard to get it back into positive, particularly if you're trying to achieve a purpose and objective together. People need to go together.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, they won't come with you unless there's trust. And to build trust, you've got to deposit into their emotional bank account, as Dr. Stephen Covey says, so that you're in credit and you're not in deficit. And that builds trust. And once you have trust, you can, everyone will follow you if they trust you. So you've got to build trust. And that's about taking personal responsibility for your actions and doing the right thing and not making excuses. And people often make excuses and they blame others. And it's always everybody else's fault. It's not my fault. Somebody else did that. I didn't do that. And it's about taking responsibility. Otherwise, you won't grow. You won't grow as a person. If you run away from things instead of facing them and fixing them and finding solutions to them, then you won't grow as a person. You just learn to run away from things.
Yeah. Number 3 might seem a bit strange to people. Jamie, haven't worked out their own personal stuff yet. Why would a leader's personal situation impact their ability to lead?
Well, I guess the simple thing is, Tim, there's a sort of, I put it this way, if you can't keep commitments to yourself, then it's very hard to keep commitments to others. There's another guy that I love to follow, and Brenton does as well, a chap called Dan Martell, and he always says, honor the calendar. I love that saying, honor the calendar. And if you've got certain things in your calendar, and you can't do them, you know, that's about personal commitment to yourself. And so, in other words, if you know, if you can't follow your own commitments, you really haven't sorted out your personal stuff yet. So it's very hard to lead other people when you can't meet your own, you know, personal commitments. And you know, like if your personal life is chaotic and chaos, you know, I love that saying. I can't think who it said, but everything matters. And you know, Ed would often say to me, how someone does a simple or small thing is how they do big things. So, you know, so it's just in that leadership sort of circle. If you've got your own personal life in order, you're much more likely to have a chance to you know, grow your business and have a positive influence on everyone around you, you know. And you know, that's, and the big part of that is your business and your staff, your colleagues, your peers. So you know, the whole point there is just you know, get your own life sorted out. You know, get your own personal side sorted out, because if that's chaos, then it'll be more. It can be a lot more difficult to, you know, try and get your business organized and, you know, really running smoothly and that type of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can I just add to that? Brenton touched on it with his on you know, when what he's typed. He said that how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And how you run your personal life is how you run your business life. Often people put a facade on for work, and they're different at work than as they are at home. But you know, you can't put that on for a long time. It's very exhausting, right? So you know, it's often people say to me, well, they say to Donna used to work with me as well, my wife Donna says it's the same at work as he is at home, you know, and it's exactly the same. So that's what you got to try and achieve, because that's genuineness. That's who you are. You're not putting something on.
That's right. That's right. In my own case, in my own personal circumstances, you know, I had 4 kids, and you know, Tim, I had to my home life, to give all the credit to my wife, we had to be organized. Like, you know, I think my wife ran our house like a CEO. So you know, you know, if our home life was a chaos, I certainly wouldn't have been able to, you know, do what I've done. So I'll give my wife a shout out in this moment. Yeah.
I love it. Love it. Number 4 is make decisions based on their own perspective and needs. Could you explain what that means, Jamie?
Yeah, I think you know, often your perception is your reality. I think your Brenton Ward often says that your perception is your reality. And so you know, essentially, if you're only looking from your own kaleidoscope, I don't know if anyone was a kid, you know, when you were a kid, you had a kaleidoscope. You know, you would look through it, and it would give you your perspective on the world. So poor leadership would just be trying to see from your opinion, from your perspective. And you know, often as a leader, or in whatever role we're in, we're often too close to it, Tim. You know, we're often too close to a problem or something that we're trying to solve. And you know, it's hard to make judgments in that sense. You know, so it's important that you try and get distance from it and get other people's opinion, because you know, often what's more helpful is that you get, like, if I could use the analogy, if you're in a helicopter, you know, if you're in a helicopter view and you can sort of see all the moving parts from a higher level, and so it's important that you really step back, and you know, if you're sort of suffering a big challenge, or like a big goal that you've got, it's important that you step back and really think about the decision that you're making, and particularly think about it from other people's perspective. You know, how, you know, what's that old saying about you've got to walk in the Indian's moccasins to understand, you know, from their perspective. So it's so important that you listen attentively, like listen deeply, and listen not with the goal to respond, but listen to understand. A lot of people sometimes when you're talking to them, it's like they'll listen to a degree so that they can respond. So it's better to sort of listen and let it consolidate, and try and understand other people's perspective first, before considering your own.
It took me years to get that one. I think I listened to respond for about 3 years there. Yeah, Jamie. So yeah, it's
that's
tough,
right.
but so important.
Yeah, that's right.
The next one is don't seek, ask for, or want feedback. It kind of follows on from that one we've just looked at. It's kind of the inverse of that. Could you talk a little bit about why this is an impediment to self-awareness as a leader?
Oh, absolutely. Like, the old saying, two heads are better than one. So, if you're just sort of not seeking other people's opinions, not seeking other people's knowledge, it's just such a massive limitation. Because at the end of the day, all of us are born with different strengths and weaknesses. And, when you're trying to grow a business, it's so important to utilize the natural strengths and the natural views of other people's opinions around a particular topic. And, that's why I love, that's why I love a corporate structure. Partnerships don't work. So if you're not asking for help, if you're not asking for feedback from, say, someone who's really strong in their role as the CFO, or someone's role that's very, very technical, for example, you're just so limited, and the highest level of maturity, as Dr. Covey said, is interdependence, and interdependence is about saying, hey, Tim, what do you think about this? What's your feedback? Or, hey, Ed, what's your opinion? Essentially when you're asking for that and when you're collaborating, that's a form of interdependence where, your opinion plus Tim's opinion plus Ed's opinion, doesn't equal 3. It equals 5. And that's synergy. So if you're not asking or seeking for feedback, you're really going to, be limiting your ability to lead and build the business that you want by design. So, feedback is just such a critical thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in trouble if you're the smartest person in your team. There's a limited.
That's a good way to put it, Ed. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Succinct. Yeah. How about this one? Take challenge personally. Again, it kind of comes on. You can kind of see how they follow on from one another. Could you take us through this one, Jamie?
Yeah. So when you sort of, if you're a leader and you sort of take things personally, that can invoke, emotions is a word that comes to mind. And so, some emotions are good and some emotions are bad. But essentially, if what you got to do is then like take those emotions and channel them in a positive way. So every time something happens, if you take it personally, you'll end up a basket case. So it's good to be passionate. It's good to be driven about what you're doing. But to take challenges personally and sort of, beat your head in, it's not healthy. So you're better off directing that back to a system, a policy. Like even sort of over the years in my own firm, probably 10 years ago, I would sort of like internalize things and sort of take them personally. And not only that, the way they were led, it would force me to, it could be often blame people and then they'd take it personally as well. Yeah. So you got to be careful of how you think and your language. And so anytime you sort of take things personally, you should flip that inverse and say, well, why did this happen? Did we have a policy, or did we have a procedure on that? And what that does is that takes the personal side out of it, So it takes the personal side out of it, so that you realize that you've got a policy or procedure to follow, and any lack of policy or any lack of procedure is a vacuum. And like Ed would say, what fills a vacuum is anything. And that's where the sort of the personal sort of side of it can come into, because you don't want to be getting emotional and take things personally. You just got to look at a system. How do we make that better? Always focus on the solution, Tim.
It's what Jamie says 100% correct. But we are people, we have feelings, and it's easier said than done, isn't it? It's when you're upset, it's really hard to control your feelings. But the thing that's really helped me is to focus on the outcome. Play. There's a saying: play the ball, not the man. Meaning, if your purpose is about outcomes, right, not about being right, but having the right outcome, then that's the beacon that you use, that you draw on to help you control your feelings. So if you're having an argument with somebody and your ego's a bit hurt because you're in this heated argument, then focus on what is the outcome we're trying to achieve, and the outcome is all about productivity, results, and let that be the beacon upon which you make a decision moving forward when you're having a dispute with somebody, right? So and it's easier said than done, I know, but often people put being right, themselves being right as more important than the right outcome. But if you put the right outcome as the basis of which to make your decisions, then that makes it a bit easier. And that's what I've always tried to do. And putting right or wrong aside, just putting the right outcome as the basis to come to a solution.
Yeah,
that's right. And starts with you think. Yeah,
it'll starts there. We're just running a bit out of time, so can I just get Jamie for the next 4? Can we just get your top tip on each of those? Because I really don't want to gloss over it, because the 10 points are so important. But we're just to speed things up a bit. So the next one, number 7, is still searching for happiness and fulfillment. Could you just give us your top tip on how this relates to self-awareness as a leader?
Yeah, well, I think essentially what that resonates with me is you've got to show you've got to be as a leader, wherever you stand, you're a leader. But it's good if you can resonate like a positive mental attitude. So when you come to work, particularly if you're a leader, Ed used to say to me, people will only be 80% of what you are. So if you come to work and your energy is 50%, they'll be like 40%. But if you come to work and you're at 90 or 100%, they'll resonate, and resonate with your energy, with your level of enthusiasm. So if you're not really sort of at that level of enthusiasm and still looking for happiness and fulfillment, you got to enjoy the now, Tim. You got to enjoy the journey, and that will come with your level of energy and enthusiasm that you display with your colleagues. Yeah,
love it. And number 8 is ego driving decisions and actions. Could you take us through your top tip on how to correct this one?
We've probably flogged this one, but yeah, you got to leave your ego at the door. So you've just got to focus on results. But the problem is, if you don't have the dashboard, Tim, if you don't have the numbers, then your ego can come back into it. So pure leadership is that Fab 5. Pure leadership is focusing on what are the numbers telling us, because if you haven't got the numbers, then everyone's got an opinion. Everyone will have an opinion on. Everyone wants to be successful, but everyone will have an opinion on how to get there. It's as we've said in the last half hour. It's about what do the numbers tell us, and then then the ego goes out the door. It's not about being right. It's about what the outcome is.
Yeah, I love it. And then number 9 is worrying about the team, but not about themselves.
Worrying not about the team, but over themselves. Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the leadership, you've got to try and as much as you can focus on yourself and getting your own house in order, or that sort of level of keeping commitments to yourself, you've got to also make sure that you focus on the team. And so, if you want your team to perform, one way I would look at your calendar, Tim, or whatever role you're in, and see how much time is marked out there for helping your team. What time is in there to micro train so that you don't micromanage? No one wants to be micromanaged, because that's the worst. They'll leave. People don't leave firms. They leave their leaders. They leave who they report to.
That's super helpful. And then the last one is finding it hard to give praise to others.
Yeah, all the greatest leaders I've ever read about, whenever they've achieved something, it's always best if you credit others first. It's just such an important trait to have, because like anything that a lot of us do, we always need the help of others. We never do it alone. Like, to think that, I did it all is just full of ego. Ego's no place for leadership. It really isn't. So, if you're finding it hard to give praise to others, it's a matter of changing your thinking and your attitude, because none of us ever do it alone. Anything great achieved is often a team effort, and particularly in our industry.
Love it so much. Awesome. Thanks so much, Ed and Jamie, for your words of wisdom around there. Everyone, I really hope you got a lot out of that. And yeah, I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway, as Brenton said. I'm going to rank myself according to those 10 things, just to see where I need to keep working on and improving on in my self-awareness. And there were so many light bulb moments for me. So we'd love to hear from you guys in the chat, which one of those you might be finding it hard, or which one resonated with you out of today. Thanks again, Jamie and Ed. So the next section of today is one of our favorite sections, which is the Battle of the Wize, the pitch fest. Who will you choose? So we've got 30 seconds, Wize team, to shill your topic. So we'll start off, Jamie. So why should people come along to your breakout session?
How long I got, Tim? 30 seconds, yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah, so my topic, everyone, is a great question, which I come across all the time, is when do you create your second team, or when do you create your third team? But essentially, the first barrier to growth is essentially leadership, and part of that leadership is not having the knowledge to know when to create your second team. So if you want to look at the insights and some of the key triggers and some of the key criteria around creating your second team, please join me, because I know for myself that is game changing. As soon as you start creating your second team and your third team on your journey, on your lifetime journey to build the business you want, I'll be able to share that with you. So I'd love you to join me.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. And up next, it's me. Yeah, so we've talked about Stephen Covey a lot this morning, and one of the 7 habits is to seek to understand before being understood. I mentioned in the main session, the keynote, that it took me a long time to learn how to listen with empathy, and I definitely wish I had worked on that sooner, because it just makes such a big difference to being an effective leader. So if you want to learn more about Stephen Covey's philosophy behind seeking to understand before being understood, why that helps you be a great leader, come along to my session. Awesome. Hey, Christy, you're up next.
Thanks, Tim. I am excited to be looking at unlocking your true potential as a leader in my session. So we'll be drawing on influence from the wisdom of Dr. Stephen Covey, Gary Keller, and the entrepreneurial spirit of Dan Martell. These are some key think makers in our world at Wize. They really help us in our own firms and in our own personal lives. So we're going to delve into some actionable strategies that will help improve your influence, but also elevate your leadership skills to new heights. So if you would like to join me to transform your approach, cultivate your resilience, and leave with a practical roadmap tailored to fostering leadership growth in your professional and personal life, I encourage you to join my session today.
I wish I could join all of these. Thanks, Christy. It is a reminder that they are being recorded. So it is a choice, but it's also not a choice. You can listen to them after the session. Thanks so much, Chris. That was killer. Thomas, you're up next.
Wow, what a lineup today. I want to welcome you all to a session on empowering your team. So I'll be going over leadership strategies for enhancing productivity as well as managing change. I'll be specifically sharing advice that is going to help you as accounting and bookkeeping firm owners become better leaders. So we're going to go over practical strategies like building trust within your team, a lot on what was discussed today around the emotional bank account, setting clear goals and expectations and delegating effectively. So they're all crucial for running a successful firm. We'll look at also how to encourage professional growth, recognize and reward success within your team. And that's really important to manage change effectively as well, because you can use incentives to help you get progress a little bit faster. Okay, so during this session, as well as I'm going through these points, I'm going to be referencing and noting where in these 18 steps there are in the Wize Vault. So you'd be able to go and access those same resources I used to implement these very things for yourself. All these resources are all there. They're all in the Wize Vault, on the Wize Hub, but I'll point these out as well. So hopefully after this session, you should have a shopping list of things to go and look up and study and adapt for yourself. So if you're looking to improve communication and build a strong team culture and navigate industry changes, this session is going to give you some valuable leadership tips tailored specifically for you accounting and bookkeeping firm owners. Okay,
Awesome.
so that's our session.
Thanks, Thomas. And lucky last, I'm very excited to hear Brenton's pitch.
Sorry, Thomas, I didn't know it was a 5-minute pitch, by the way. I thought
It was 2 minutes, Brenton. I'm timing
just checking there. If I could just get a quick, I can see everyone's faces. If I could just get a quick little show of hands just into your webcam, who's looking for a nice steady flow of really, really quality A-class ideal clients into their firm?
That's unfair.
Actually.
Well, if that is of interest to you, and linking it up with the topic of leadership today, we've mentioned the word influence quite a number of times in the last conversation, and from what I've seen in all my research, one of the most successful marketing strategies for any small business is becoming a key person of influence for your business and for your community. So if you guys would like to come into my room, have a bit of a conversation around the 5 easy steps that you can work towards and work through to become the key person of influence that you've always wanted to be, and walk away with a couple of simple tactics and some of my secret tools, jump into my breakout room and look forward to spending the time with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So Sammy will set up the breakouts and the choice is yours. We'll see you in about half an hour's time for the next breakout.